So, the other day I watched a 30-minute video about soy boys. And the main bulk of the video was not actually about soy boys. It was actually about how eating soy does not, based on scientific research, lower your testosterone and make you more effeminate. It's kind of the basic gist. It was countering the idea, or it was countering most of the video made by Paul Joseph Watson from InfoWars when he made a video on the soy diets and how soy is bad for your testosterone and all that jazz. Now, I actually watched this 30-minute video to its conclusion, all the way up to the credits portion. And by the end of it all, I felt weird. There was something bothering me about this video. And it took me a little while to stop and try to figure out why is that. It took me all of 30 seconds to realize why, after I watched this 30-minute video, I was a little bothered by it. And the reason why I was bothered by it so much was because what's the best way to put this? Oh yes, it kind of totally and completely misses the entire point of the insult. So much so that it's actually, if anything, the perfect example of why soy boy is an insult to begin with. And yeah, I'm going to talk about that. So, the thing that I find interesting... Oh, by the way, the video is by H. Balmer Guy. This person right here on the screen. As you can see, I'm not exaggerating. The video is literally 30 minutes long. And it's him explaining and reading multiple different scientific articles and debunking Paul Joseph Watson's video about the soy diet and why Paul Joseph Watson is wrong about eating soy, or how his conclusions or the information Paul Joseph Watson gathered about eating soy is not accurate and that his conclusions do not make a lot of sense. So the video is all well and fine. I can't really dispute H. Balmer Guy on any scientific claim he made or any factual claim, and I don't care to, because that's completely not the point, like, at all. It's entirely possible that there are lots of men out there. It's not possible, there are lots of guys out there who think eating soy is bad for your testosterone and it'll make you more effeminate. And they might be wrong, they might be right. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter. Because that's not the point of the insult. And it feels kind of silly to have to explain an insult and explain its purpose and point. But I think this is really important, because the more you try to fight against soy boy, or any insult really, the more you add weight and credence to it. So that's why I'm making this video here. See, here's the thing about insults. An insult is next to never created based on its scientific accuracy. In fact, I don't think there are many insults that are. In fact, if you think about it, let's take cuck for example. Cuck is an insult used a lot of the time by, the alt-right. An actual true and tried cuck, or cuckoldry in its true definition, is when one creature is made to raise the baby of another creature. This word comes from the cuckoo bird, which will toss out the eggs of some other nearby bird's eggs out of their nests, and then lay its own egg and then leave. And that one bird comes back, and then they warm the egg up, and they end up raising the cuckoo bird, and the process continues. There's a duck that does the same thing. I think it might be called a cuckoo duck or something. I could be wrong, but there's a duck that does it. So that's what true cuckoldry is. Cuckoldry within humans is similar. I mean, it's not as deliberate. I don't really think a lot of women do this deliberately, where they'll have sex with some guy's brother and make him raise become the uncle dad to his own child. I don't really think most women think like that. Maybe some do, but that is a true cuckoldry with humans. Like, if a woman steps out of her marriage and she gets impregnated by another man, and then she never tells her husband or boyfriend, he raises some other guy's child. That's true cuckoldry. Now, cuckolding as a fetish is when you, as a man, watch another guy have sex with your wife. This is a really peculiar thing to me, I will not lie, and I've made videos on how peculiar it is and how disgusting I find it. But, again, this is not really accurate. I mean, it's closer to what cuckolding is, by the way, but it's not actually accurate to what a true cuck is, a man raising some other person's child. The cuck fetish, watching your wife have sex with another man because it makes you feel humiliated and effeminate, is really close to the idea of the soy boy, which is why I'm explaining this. But the grander point is, calling someone a cuck, which really is just saying that they're really effeminate and weak-willed, basically is what cuck and soy boy are saying, is not accurate to what an actual cuckoldry is, because that's not the point. The English language is a very interesting language, for multitude of reasons, and one of them is context, synonyms, the fact that you have multiple words to describe the same phenomena, or the fact that you could have one word mean so many different things based on the context and based on your own inflection of the word, and the fact that so many words have many figurative meanings that sometimes in their literal sense they don't make any sense at all if you think about it. For example, let's take another insult that's commonly used, right? Let's take dick and penis, right? You call someone a dick. Is there really any logical deduction as to how you could come into how that is an insult in any particular way? Not really. Now, we all understand, well, if you're a natural English speaker, we all understand that being called a dick means that you're a jerk, or you're being mean, you're being obnoxious and unpleasant. Yeah, I'm sure that all makes that. We all understand that. We get that. That's what it means. But could you break down how someone came to the conclusion of calling lots of people dicks? Probably not. I don't really think you could. I don't really think that there's any logical explanation as to how you get to male sex organ into obnoxious, jerky individual. We can even take another commonly used insult, like butthole, or more accurately, asshole. Again, asshole means the same exact thing as dick would mean, and that is an obnoxious or jerky person, or a mean individual, right? An unpleasant person, alright? So we all know that that's what the word means, but if you were to ask, how does it logically follow suit to call someone an asshole? No one probably would be able to have any explanation for it. Because if you look at the word literally, you either are talking about a donkey's hole, it might be its mouth, or it might be its butt, I don't know. Or you'd be talking about a person's butthole. But again, it doesn't make any sense. If you look at the word literally, it doesn't make any sense to call someone an asshole. And most insults are not created mostly for its scientific accuracy or its accuracy to anything that you're describing. It's mostly just used to try to find any insecurity and cut at that. It's mostly trying to find... I think, if anything, most of these insults are mostly words that are unpleasant to hear or unpleasant thoughts to think about. And they try to associate those negative behaviors with, that same disgust that you have for something. So, for example, since most people have a disgust for buttholes, if you associate the behaviors of being unpleasant with that disgusting thing, I think that the attempt in calling someone that is to try to curtail that behavior with the associations of something that is negative or disgusting to think about. However, it's logical deduction. That is not a logical deduction at all. That's just purely pathological. That's purely emotions being hooked on and lashed onto something. It's not, I'm calling someone an asshole because it logically follows suit that they are acting like a butthole, because no one does. That's just dumb. It's stupid. That's what I think, at least. I could be wrong there, but I don't think I am. So, I've spent most of this time talking about other insults, not actually soy boy. And when I first heard soy boy, I knew exactly what it meant. No one had to explain soy boy to me. No one had to tell me what soy boy meant or what it was referring to. The moment I heard it, it instantly snapped. And I didn't think that the word soy boy literally was implying that soybeans or soy-based products were effeminizing men in any particular way. I most certainly don't think that that is even logically the case, or is even kind of close to the case at all. I just thought it was a really funny way of saying something that sounds really effeminate, soy, because it kind of does, and boy, boy being, not masculine, not really much of a man, at least that's how it's used now, and combining them together to create a funny word, like cuck. Cuck isn't, again, accurate to what an actual cuckoldry, situation is, but it's kind of funny to say, and that's what I thought soy boy was. So imagine my shock when I find someone making a 30-minute video explaining how soy isn't actually making men less masculine, and soy probably has nothing to do with that, and, it's okay to eat soy. When I watched this whole thing, it just kind of struck me as someone literally taking 30 minutes to explain why being called an asshole is not fair and accurate and doesn't really make sense. It's actually like someone taking any insult and trying to explain how literally it doesn't make any sense. And the only conclusion anyone and everyone who listens to it can come to is like, yeah, no shit, we kind of figured this all out when we were like in the 4th grade. Like, literally at that young of an age as children, we can logically understand that insults are not accurate to what is being described. We know that. For example, when I was all the way back in, I don't know, maybe the 2nd grade, lots of kids called me Dumbo. Like, now, as a 6-year-old, I could logically understand that they weren't saying that I was an elephant that could fly, that I could literally fly around. They were insulting my ears. They were saying I had really big ears. I got that, and that's what the point was. That's what the exaggeration of the joke or the insult Dumbo was. And again, as a child, I could get that, and most kids can, because it's just kind of something you naturally have to be able to do in order to be humans and just kind of exist in the world. So, Soy Boy, I understand the point H-Bomber guy was making when he made his video. And in fact, interestingly enough, his 30-second introduction kind of completely explains what his point is. I'll let you watch it.
Hey there. You might have noticed that I like to keep track of all the latest bizarre insults that internet weirdos like to come up with. You know, cultural Marxist, beta, cuck, virtue signaler, all the greats. One of the latest additions to that list is the term Soy Boy, which is used to decry everyone who's not like them as degenerate, feminized, weak losers who are also, for some reason, also leftists because of soy. So come. And for once, I hesitate to admit, they've scored a slam dunk. They're onto us. They know that beans are the reason why leftists think what they believe. It can't be because of all the evidence. No, they've got us. And you can't prove otherwise because that's just the objective truth. At least that's what they think. Here's a comment from one of my latest videos. Go get your chocolates and wine and cry in the bathtub, you silly cucks. High soy diets spike estrogen and lower testosterone. That's not a disputable fact. So, let's dispute the facts!
So, here's the point of his autism here. And I do truly and genuinely mean that this is somewhat autistic. The fact that he would rather latch on to some random person on the internet saying that being a soy is an indisputable fact and argue against that scientifically rather than him understanding the nuance and figurative sarcastic language of the word is some tried and true autism. It genuinely it is. I don't know if it's internet autism, but it's some level of autism, right? The reason why, however, he's being, I assume, purposely obtuse and autistic in order to focus on the scientific aspect of being a soy boy rather than the core of being a soy boy is because he can't argue against the core of being a soy boy. Because the core of being a soy boy is describing an effeminate male. If you can logically deduce how an insult is not accurate to what is going on, it doesn't change the core of the insult. I can logically deduce that calling someone a dick or a penis does not logically make sense. It does not change the core of the insult, saying that you are being an obnoxious person and you should probably stop. What's really strange to me is the fact that this even needs to be explained to him, because H-Bomber guy is pretty far from a dumb person, okay? But the thing is, like, he hammers this point in. Okay, like, he makes a 30-minute video explaining how soy doesn't lower your testosterone, which I'm pretty sure most people already kind of knew and figured out. He then goes on to make a 20-minute video talking about how he went on a soy diet and only ate a bunch of soy-based products. I mean, it's one thing to make a 30-minute video based on an insult which isn't supposed to be accurate. It's another thing to change your entire diet and eating strategy to further hammer in this point that you are not a weak-willed and effeminate man. I mean, the fact that you felt the need to go on a diet in order to prove that eating soy is a fine thing truly and genuinely encapsulates the spirit of the insult. In fact, these two videos he made perfectly summarize the core spirit of being a soy boy. He's probably one of the best examples of being a soy boy in his attempt to disprove soy boys in general. And that is, he's very weak-willed. The fact that this insult revolving around something that is just as silly as eating soy, which something isn't even accurate. The fact that this is able to make him go off and do massive amounts of research and to figure out something he already knew to prove to something people already knew. shows just how bothered he was by the insult. And it kind of makes me feel bad. I mean, no, it really doesn't. It just kind of makes me think he might honestly be autistic. I mean, I know I made a joke about it earlier, but I think he might have to honestly be autistic if he doesn't understand this basic fundamental concept of human interaction. But I mean, I can kind of understand why, as a soy boy, he doesn't want other soy boys to feel bad, because I think they all on some level understand that being weak-willed and effeminate isn't a good thing. They just probably don't want to admit to themselves that they are weak-willed and effeminate, because that would mean that they would be challenged to change something about themselves. And because they don't like that whole personal effort thing, they kind of have to bring down the whole system with them rather than seek to improve yourself and not be a soy boy. So in conclusion, it's pretty obvious that soy boy is not something to be taken literal. I don't really think most people even did take it literally, and the people who did take it literally are silly and stupid and are dumb, and you should ignore them. The core of the insult of soy boy is the same as cuck, basically. You're being weak-willed, you're being effeminate, and you're being bothered by a bunch of mean words on the internet. Making an entire hour-long presentation really about how eating soy is not really a bad thing and does not make you less manly really shows just how unmanly you really are, because it shows just how much this word bothers you. And honestly, it shouldn't. It's a silly, stupid, dumbass insult on the internet. I think it's funny personally, but it's just an insult on the internet. You don't need to make a presentation as to how it's not accurate. I mean, if you wouldn't do it for dick, asshole, poo-poo head, you really shouldn't do it for soy boy. I'm just saying. So that being said, man, really short one today, but I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go and click the like button. And shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below, and as always, you guys have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.